What's good, guys? So today we got to talk about the most recent weapon hitting Withering Waves, and that is the Thunder Flare Dominion Broadblade, also known as Augusta's signature weapon. And the reason I'm making this video is because first off, Kuro gave us all the sauce about this weapon, and we're going to be able to break it down and talk about it and compare it to other weapons. And I also wanted to make this video so you guys go into your summons as informed as possible and y'all don't end up either doom posting, making wrong decisions, or getting upset or thinking the wrong things about this weapon. So first off, here we have the Thunder Flare Dominion. Beautiful design, probably one of the best, if not the best design in the game. I would have it tied with like Lupa's weapon because this thing is absolutely insane. Now, moving down, the base stats are quite interesting. It has the highest attack in the game, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it does have some questionable crit rate. It's one of the lowest crit rate in the game, if not the lowest crit rate in the game. So I feel that, on that regard, we have the highest attack, but the lowest crit rate. It could balance itself out. We're going to have to look at the weapon and what it offers when it comes to its skill to really know what this weapon brings. So let's move on over and talk about the weapon skill. Thunderblade's Eminence. Increases attack by 12%. Casting intro skill or resonant skill increases heavy attack damage by 20%. Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. You're getting that attack increase and you're getting heavy attack damage. So pretty damn solid, if I do say so myself. But here's where it gets a little bit interesting and a lot of people are up at arms or confused. So I'm going to break it down. Obtaining shield allows heavy attack damage to ignore 7.2% of the target's defense for 7 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. So pretty much 36% defense ignore, which a lot of people have been saying that's absolutely broken. They're comparing it to like Cardifia and overall saying that this is an absolute monster of a weapon. Now guys, I gotta say, even if you max dupe it, you do get a hefty 60% defense ignore, and that's actually pretty damn good. This is an amazing weapon. The synergy that this weapon has with Augusta is absolutely freaking insane. Now, I'm going to show you guys. You see how this says, obtain shields allows heavy attack damage to ignore 7.2% of the target's defense, stacking up to 5 times, and this effect can be triggered once every 0.5 seconds. If we move on over to Augusta, and we go down here to her inherent skill, Glory's Favor, when Augusta deals damage, she gains a shield equal to 2.5 plus 350% of her max HP, trigger once every 0.5 seconds. So pretty much every time she deals damage, she's going to be triggering this and gaining a shield, right? Now, the shield is not important because it really doesn't give her anything, but what it does do is allow for this to stack beautifully. You're going to be able to get all those stacks right here perfectly and get that nice 36% defense ignore buff, which is going to be beautiful. It's going to allow you to deal some very, very good damage. And in turn, it also synergizes very well with her Sonata effect, Crown of Valor. Upon getting a shield, increases the Resonator's attack by 6% and crit damage by 4%. And this effect can be triggered once every 0.5 seconds and stack up to 5 times. So, as you can see, this weapon is tailor-made, ladies and gentlemen. It's tailor-made for Augusta. It's going to be working beautifully with her. So you might be asking yourself, should I summon this weapon? Is this going to be one of those scenarios where power creep is going to take over and the difference between this and the second best in slot and the third best in slot is going to be like 50, 40, 60% in difference in damage? So I'm going to tell you guys, y'all got nothing to worry about, and this is why. If you don't have the currency to pull this weapon, or you simply don't want to pull it, or you simply have something like the Verdant Summit, you're not going to need to pull Augusta's weapons because the Verdant Summit, I'm telling you guys right now, is an absolute monster of a weapon for Augusta. It works perfectly, it's easy to use, and if you already have it, I'm telling you, the difference between Verdant Summit and Augusta's signature weapon is not that big. Like, we're not sitting here and saying it's not going to be like 5-10% damage difference. Okay, it might be 5-10%, but it's not going to be no 40-50% damage difference. It's probably one of the closest options in terms of first in slot to second best in slot. Now, for those of you that don't know, it offers a hefty amount of crit damage, and the ability increases attribute damage bonus by 12%. Every time intro skill or Resonance Liberation is cast, increases heavy attack damage bonus by 24%, stacking up to 2 times, and this effect lasts for 14 seconds. So once again, if you have the Verdant Summon and you're tight on summons, or you simply really like to manage, you know, your currency and all that, you don't have to get her signature weapon. I'm calling it right now. The difference between these two weapons is minuscule. Not only did we test it personally live and see what was, you know, the difference, and it barely was noticeable, but there's been a lot of people out there doing calculations and talking about the difference between these things, which we will talk about it in 1 second. Now, let's say you don't have the Verdant Summit either because it's another limited weapon. What other weapons do we have that you could use? You're going to be able to use the Aegis of Harvest, actually. Now, it might not be her best in slot, and there are things down here that you might be asking yourself, but this doesn't even sound like it works with her. In all reality, the crit rate is really nice, and some of the other things that it kind of offers is also good. Once again, we're now moving down. So this would be around her third, maybe fourth best in slot weapon, right? So you get the crit rate from it, and it grants 12% attribute damage bonus. Casting intro skill gives the equipper ageless marking, which grants 24% resonance skill damage bonus for 12 seconds. Casting resonance skill gives the equipper ethereal endowment, which grants 24% resonance skill damage bonus for 12%. I know you're asking yourself, why the hell does she need resonance skill damage bonus? She doesn't, but it doesn't hurt to have it in there. And like I said, we're now moving down. So the more we move down in options, you got to keep in mind that they're not always going to synergize perfectly with the character. But at the end of this, I'm going to show you some numbers done by some people in the test servers that show, you know, what they saw when they tested all these different weapons. And once again, take that with a grain of salt. Now, let's say you don't have the Aegis of Harvest. You can also use the Lustrous Racer. This does gives you attack, so it's going to be a lot harder to build in the crit department. And when it comes to the ability, increases energy regen by 12%. When Resonance skill is cast, Resonance Liberation damage bonus is increased by 7%, stacking up to 3 times. So once again, we're moving down. We're like on the 4th best in slot for this character. So right here, we start seeing a lot more damage difference. I want to ask you guys, how big of a damage difference do you think we're at by the time we get to Lustrous Racer? Pause the video and let me know. I've seen a lot of people claiming that the difference is about 50%, 40%. So I want to know what you guys think before I continue. Okay, now moving on, we have the Autumn Trace, and the Autumn Trace is pretty good. It gives you crit rate, is, you know, the OG battle pass weapon, increase attack by 4% upon dealing basic attack damage or heavy attack damage, stacking up to 5 times. You're going to be able to stack this pretty damn easily, and you're going to get that nice little attack percentage buff with some crit rate, which is not bad. So if you have this weapon in your inventory and you're real down bad for currency, you can go ahead and rock it. Now, we have the new Battle Pass weapon, and this Battle Pass weapon seems like it was tailor-made for Augusta. Now, we have not been able to test with this weapon because you don't get these weapons in the test server. So Azurite Zenith right here, this Broadblade is perfect for her. It does offer attack and crit damage, pretty nice crit damage at that, so you can, you know, help your build out. And when casting Resonance Liberation, increases attack by 7.2 and grants 10.8 heavy attack damage bonus. So you're getting a hefty increase to your attack percentage and to your heavy attack. So I do think this is, you know, very good for her, and you might end up using it on her if you don't have any of the other options in here. And I'm not saying that this is worse than the Atom Trance, but let's say you don't have it and you don't have any of these weapons. You weren't here when Gion was here, you weren't here when Jinshi was here. You can go ahead and get yourself the battle pass and get yourself this weapon. Now, remember how I asked you guys what you think the damage difference is going to be between, you know, the first option and I believe it was like the 3rd or 4th option, right? As we move on over right here, these calculations were done by people that spend time in the test servers. And remember, a lot of these calculations are subject to change, and they really vary depending on your Echo builds because, you know, you have a limited amount of things that you can do in the test servers. So take all of this part right here with a grain of salt. I've done testing myself. I've been with people doing live testing on these units, and our numbers are relatively similar. So right here we have the Thunder Flare Dominion R1 dealing about 1 million damage, 1.69, right? And then we have the Verdant Summon literally doing almost the same amount of damage. The difference right here is honestly very, very small, ladies and gentlemen. And this goes right along with my testing, with the prediction that a lot of actually well-educated people have said. So Verdant Summit and Thunderflare Dominion are so close that you really don't gotta worry about that. And that hasn't really happened with a lot of weapons. There's usually, from first to second best in slot, there's usually a 10 to 15% damage difference. And here, it's not. Moving on over to the Age of Harvest, the standard, or not the standard, the Jinshi's weapon, which is actually pretty good, right? We're only down about, I'd say, 16, 17% as your third best option. So we're already down to third best in slot, and you're only doing about 15 to 17% less damage. Moving on over to the fourth best in slot weapon, we're now doing 20% less damage. So we're really looking down at the bottom of the barrel because we're at the fifth best weapon, and we're only 20% less damage. Lustra's Racer, about the same, 20%, give or take, less damage than, you know, Thunderflare Dominion. And keep in mind, this is an R1 Lustra's Racer, which is the standard banner 5-star. And then from here, you guys can go ahead and look down at all the other weapons. And obviously, you can't look at me dead in my eyes and be like, yo, I have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have the 8th best in slot weapon for my character, and she's dealing 30% less than her signature. Power creep. This game is trash. Don't do that. Don't make yourself look like a clown. Overall, I think this character is going to be pretty damn good. The fact that she's still dealing pretty decent damage with Lustra's Racer, the fact that you can go ahead and use Azurite Zenith, the fact that you have Verdant Summit as a very strong, very valid option. Ladies and gentlemen, overall, the weapon is going to be great, but very skippable if you have weapons like Gion, or if you're saving for other characters. Overall, to end it, I think it's a great weapon. I think it's amazing the way it works with Augusta. But at the same time, I think it's a weapon that you can skip because there are other options that you can go ahead and rock without a problem whatsoever. But that's going to be it for the video. Hit that like button, subscribe if you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.